Do you think our democracy is at risk in this election?
I think that it is. I always keep saying democracy is great, of course, but democracy people take for granted. It's a word that some people don't even understand. They take it for granted. It's about right and wrong, period. The guy's a monster. He is beyond wrong. It's almost like he wants to do the most horrible things that he can think of in order to get a rise out of us. I don't know what it is, but he's been doing it, and it's scary.
Are you?
Excuse my French.
Yeah, I don't want to hear. I love De Niro. I love those mob movies. It's like
I don't want to hear him that he's a moron. I don't want to hear him talking about politics and about Trump supporters, and just shut the up, man.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't think this through. Like, this is, and he's getting yelled at. He's doing an outside press conference. Like, Robert, you're 80 years old. Don't ruin this thing. You've had this life where you were a raging bull. You know, you were in The Godfather. Like, stop doing this.
Man.
Don't do this.
What if I told you that Robert De Niro, the titan of cinema, Mr. You Talking to Me, himself, just got verbally body slammed harder than a WWE rookie in their debut match? And not by one, but by two of the most unfiltered voices in modern media, Joe Rogan and Patrick Bet-David. Yep, Mr. Tough Guy, the legend who could make a scowl feel like a death threat, reportedly met his match with two guys armed with podcasts, platforms, and absolutely zero chill. One moment, De Niro is delivering one of his now infamous political rants. The next, he's getting roasted like a cheap steak on Rogan's grill, while Patrick Bet-David calmly brings the receipts, logic, and that signature smug billionaire grin. What did they say that allegedly left De Niro looking like he completely forgot his own lines? Buckle up, because this one is wild, and the takedown is more brutal than any on-screen beatdown De Niro has ever dished out.
De Niro, when he's at a film festival and a documentary was coming out about vaccine by, I think, Del Bigtree, and he's talking about the documentary because he's got an autistic son. I think he's like 22 or 23 years old. That's one area where he's like, we have to look into this. What's going on with this? And he's kept it kind of to him. At the time, the kid was 16 years old. But I think there's some moments, and they try to hide it as much as possible.
Robert De Niro suggested there's a link between vaccines and autism.
You've never seen this interview?
No.
I have to show it to you afterwards, okay? So he's talking about it, and the host is trying to shut him up. And he's, you guys got to see this documentary. And he's not one that uses his kids as a, we know where he's at with Trump. We know he's got TDS.
Yeah.
We know he loses his mind. But when it comes down to vaccine and autism, that is a very personal thing to him.
But can you imagine not being allowed to ask?
Robert De Niro. The name alone once evoked images of cinematic genius, unforgettable performances, and an almost mythical Hollywood toughness. He was the undisputed king of gritty gangster flicks, the man who could transform into a ruthless mobster or a mentally unhinged taxi driver with terrifying authenticity. But somewhere between the glory days of Raging Bull and the bewildering landscape of the 21st century, this icon started to morph. Not into a new, compelling character, but into something far more curious, far more loud. He became, in the eyes of many, the poster child for the classic Hollywood meltdown. A fading star, seemingly losing his grip on reality harder than a toddler clinging to a melting ice cream cone on a scorching summer day. As one commentator in the transcript bluntly put it, once you take the words away from him, he is so stupid.
You ever see old people's text messages? The fucking text on their phone is like as big as my hand.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so your vision of the world is blurring, literally and figuratively, and then you're getting old. And when old people are tired and cranky, they just want everyone to listen to them, and they don't have time to have a calm conversation, and you state out your opinion, I'll state my opinion, let's see where we have common ground. Hey, get off my lawn! And that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. He's being this old grumpy man that is so lost that he thinks it's a good idea to stand in front of a bunch of people on the street and give a speech on camera about how bad Donald Trump is.
His public appearances, particularly those involving political commentary, have become legendary for all the wrong reasons. He's become a living meme, a walking caricature of Hollywood's perceived greatest frustration. The star who peaked decades ago, but now resorts to loud, often embarrassing, public rants. He's like that guy at every party who corners you to shout about politics, except the party is the global stage, and the politics are, well, whatever increasingly incoherent hot takes he can conjure up between awkward interviews and his relentless anti-Trump tirades. Did you see him giving that speech outside the Trump trial? It was, as many described it, bizarre. Who told him that was a good idea? He ends up yelling at regular people on the street, You're a gangster. Go yourself." It's genuinely crazy to think that's the same guy from Taxi Driver. There's a sentiment, as voiced in the transcript, that guys like De Niro have no friends outside the Hollywood phonies, leading to a slippery grasp on reality, where their vision of the world is blurring, literally and figuratively.
Completely. Did you see when he went and gave that speech outside of the trial? That was bizarre.
Who told him that was a good idea?
And then he starts yelling at regular people. He's like, "Fuck you! You're a gangster! Go fuck you!" Like,
it's crazy that that's the guy from
what?
Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
You know what? Also, I think those guys have no friends. I think the only friends they have are Hollywood phonies. And so you're in this weird world where everybody you talk to is a phony, and you become a phony, and everyone's a phony, and your grasp on reality is very slippery, and your eyes are going.
The most egregious thing, I think, the most unbelievable to me, is somebody, Robert De Niro, who I was a huge fan of his work. I've seen Goodfellas with my family, my brother, my cousins. I'll say 150 times. I'm not even joking, but it just plays in the background. For someone, and God rest his soul, his grandson just died this year due to fentanyl overdose, okay? Why aren't you furious at this current administration? You should be ashamed of yourself, because that fentanyl that came in and killed your grandson either came from China or it came from Mexico, okay? And guess what? Because of the wide open border, and whose fault is that again, Tom?
Or Mexico is the distributor for China.
Guess what? Biden.
And De Niro's laser-focused obsession with Donald Trump? It's become borderline pathological. If you thought an Oscar winner would have something profound or nuanced to contribute to the political discourse, think again. De Niro's contribution often boils down to insults that even a middle schooler could craft, all wrapped in the same tired, predictable, and increasingly desperate fury. It's like watching a grown man perpetually stuck in a bitter Twitter feud with a ghost. Utterly pointless, slightly embarrassing, and deeply captivating for all the wrong reasons. Some, like the Kurt mentioned in the transcript, even speculate wildly that De Niro is on some kind of Epstein list and fears exposure if Trump regains power. While that's pure conjecture, it speaks to the intensity of De Niro's Trump derangement syndrome, as others call it. He's one of those "I'm moving to Canada if he wins" types, seemingly unable to process political disagreement without resorting to apocalyptic pronouncements.
Oh, Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Now, Kurt's convinced that Robert De Niro's on some kind of Epstein list or some kind of thing like that, and then he's afraid that if Trump does get power, he's going to expose him, and he is actually going to come at him.
Of course Kurt thinks
That's
that.
what Kurt thinks that.
Kurt thinks that about every fucking thing that happens in the world.
I think Robert De Niro's just got Trump derangement syndrome.
I think he's old, too. There's a thing about old men.
And
they want...
Now, enter Joe Rogan and Patrick Bet-David, two figures who are essentially the universe's way of balancing out unchecked celebrity grandstanding. Joe, the king of long-form, often controversial conversations where logic and evidence, sometimes, actually matter. And Patrick, the sharp-witted entrepreneur who has never been afraid to call out what he perceives as nonsense, especially from the elite. They decided to roast Robert De Niro like a Thanksgiving turkey that had been inexplicably left out in the sun for too long. And spoiler alert, De Niro didn't have a comeback because, well, he usually doesn't when the facts, or just basic common sense, start flying.
He's being dead serious. And by the way, this is full Trump derangement syndrome, an attack, and he claims Donald Trump becomes president, all this is going to happen, right? He's clearly having an episode. So Trump is the threat to America. Meanwhile, in New York City right now, where he's from, De Niro's from Brooklyn, the governor last week deployed 750 National Guard soldiers with long rifles, M16s, in the subways due to skyrocketing crime and violence, which is caused a lot by the illegals set in. Who let these illegals in, Tom? Is it Trump?
In the last couple of years,
Joe Biden
has been working hard to set new records.
Thank you. And yet Trump is the threat. And give me a break, okay? And you said this, Pat. I thought this was an act. Like, he's an actor, but what all this does, this negative rhetoric, it's further dividing an already divided country.
First, there's the cringeworthy matter of De Niro's career choices in recent years, which look less like artistic endeavors and more like the results of a drunken game of spin the genre. From the intense, brooding lead of Raging Bull to Dirty Grandpa. Yes, that movie. It's become clear to many that the guy might have no shame left. Watching him switch from Oscar-winning, generation-defining roles to forgettable sitcom guest appearances and half-baked comedies is like seeing a legendary 5-star chef suddenly, inexplicably deciding to sell microwavable gas station burritos. One minute, you're expecting grit, genius, and profound insight. The next, you're wincing at the dawning realization that he's probably just doing it for the paycheck. And spoiler alert, it absolutely shows.
Man.
Don't do this.
I'm terrified to meet some of those people I looked up to now.
You should be.
I mean, like
I've met a few of them, and it's actors in particular, because their whole business is pretend. Their whole business is pretend. You know, one of the things about guys like Theo or comedians, you run into comedians, their business is the opposite of pretend. Their business is just being a real person talking shit.
Yeah.
They're professional shit talkers.
And don't even get started on his political posturing. De Niro's loudmouth anti-Trump stance has become less of a powerful Hollywood voice speaking truth to power and more of a desperate, almost pathetic attention grab. You know the type, yelling at a raging storm through a tiny megaphone, desperately hoping someone, anyone, notices. Except, in this case, nobody's really listening anymore because De Niro has long since lost the credibility that comes with genuine influence or coherent thought. His venomous speeches come off as the grumpy old guy yelling at kids to get off his lawn. Except the lawn is X, formerly Twitter, and the kids are millions of American voters who are tired of being lectured by out-of-touch celebrities.
Robert De Niro panics. If Trump wins, he'll come looking for me. Do you have the video, Rob? Because it's like, if you can just play the video of De Niro. I mean, dude, you know, go ahead, Rob. Just watch this, folks. Enjoy it.
The guy is a total monster. And anybody, I don't understand it. I guess they get behind that kind of logic. They want to fuck with people, screw them, because they're unhappy about something. He's such a mean, nasty, hateful person. I never play him as an actor because I can't see any good in him. Nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing redeemable in him.
Oh, God.
And we have to, and whoever the people are who want to vote for him, and there look like intelligent people around there, somebody, for some reason, it can't be.
Patrick Bet David, in particular, pointed this out with surgical, almost brutal precision. He tore into De Niro's perceived hypocrisy like a Wall Street shark smelling blood in the water. The guy who literally played a ruthless mafia boss now acting like he's the moral compass of the nation? That's rich. And no, De Niro delivering a few fancy, pre-written speeches doesn't magically make you a leader. It just makes you someone with a very big mouth and a teleprompter. Bet David powerfully reminded everyone that De Niro's fame doesn't and shouldn't exempt him from intense scrutiny. In fact, it actively invites it, especially when you're constantly mouthing off about complex issues you clearly don't fully understand, or perhaps even care to.
Trump was feared, and he was respected, and he walked around, love him or hate him. We didn't have wars. So going back to what you're asking about Iran, what he would do, here's what he would be doing. There's no 6-hour stand down or 3-hour stand down. Here's what we're doing. He's doing a, what do you call it, a press conference going out. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to. Remember that one time when he says, Abu Bakar, what was his name?
Joe Rogan, meanwhile, provided that cold, hard splash of reality that De Niro so sorely needed, but likely never received from his Hollywood entourage. Rogan, known for his almost pathological commitment to brutal honesty, didn't sugarcoat the fact that De Niro seems to be clinging to relevance like a drowning man clutching a rapidly deflating chew toy. The guy who once effortlessly intimidated Al Pacino in Heat now can barely intimidate a particularly aggressive YouTube commenter. It's a sad, almost tragic sight for anyone who appreciates actual talent and genuine gravitas. As Rogan might put it, with that characteristic chuckle, De Niro seems mentally handicapped in his current public pronouncements. He recounted De Niro's appearance on Bill Maher, where, when asked about serious issues like the National Guard in New York City subways due to skyrocketing crime potentially exacerbated by policies De Niro likely supports, De Niro mumbled, "I don't know about that." Rogan's point? If you don't know, maybe don't pontificate. The only things Robert De Niro should be asked about, Rogan joked, are awesome movies and divorce. Here's the kicker. De Niro's entire public persona, once built on quiet intensity and powerful performances, has become less about his acting and more about his increasingly unhinged outrage theater. Every interview, every tweet, Every shouty public appearance feels like a desperate performance. Except this time, the script was apparently written by a very bored, very angry intern with a personal grudge and a thesaurus full of insults. It's like he's constantly trying to stay relevant by throwing increasingly bizarre verbal punches in a fight he can't possibly win. The sad part is, nobody's really watching the fight anymore, except maybe to see how far the once mighty legend will fall. Remember when De Niro compared Trump's supporters to dangerous criminals? It's a funny line, coming from a man whose performance in Goodfellas was basically a masterclass in glorifying organized crime. It's rich irony, wrapped in a layer of tired cliché. And yet De Niro acts as if he's the undisputed moral center of the universe, as if the sum of his life's work wasn't portraying some of the most ruthless, morally ambiguous characters in the history of cinema. Joe Rogan and Patrick Bet-David didn't just roast Robert De Niro. They meticulously pulled back the curtain on a man who now seems less like a revered actor and more like a political punching bag, desperately swinging at shadows. The guy who once had the world's undivided respect now has nothing but Twitter followers who either pity him for his decline or chuckle with amusement at his latest public meltdown. And that, perhaps, is the ultimate tragedy of it all. De Niro's name will forever be etched in the annals of cinematic history, but his recent, increasingly bizarre antics have unfortunately turned him into the punchline of a joke that no one really wants to laugh at anymore. He's become the cautionary tale of what happens when a legend overstays his welcome on the public stage and forgets to check if the microphone is even still on.